Despite the snow and cool temps yesterday, we are in spring, and that means NHL playoffs are just around the corner. What does that mean for the Montreal Canadiens? Well, before I hand it off to Eddie, let's see what he had to say on October 9th, 2024.
And there has been a plan since Mr. Gorton arrived in the scene. They're executing. And back then they said, we're looking at 4 to 5 years before we can even talk about contending for a Stanley Cup. Well, I believe this is year number 4 for them, and they're already talking about being in the mix. Are they Stanley Cup? Quality right now? No, not yet. They need a little bit more grooming. They need to get a little bit more weight, and they still need to get a little height on the team, because when it comes playoff time, that's when the big boys come out to play.
That was back in October.
Right.
So
episode 4.
What has changed since then, and have you changed your mind?
Somewhat, yeah. You know what, Gary? I reviewed that clip in its entirety today. First of all, for our viewers, a correction that we're not in year number 4 of rebuilding. This is year number 3. Okay, so I just want to correct myself there. But you know what, Gary? I am pleasantly surprised by how these young men are playing hockey with passion and playing hockey with a purpose, and they never, ever, ever give up. Just to the point, to give you an idea, about 5 or 6 games ago, we were kind of singing. The fat lady was starting to sing. They were, I think, like 8 points or 9 points behind the Ottawa Senators. And by the way, there's 2. They're vying for a playoff spot along with Ottawa. They're both in wild card positions. Ottawa's in the first wild card position, and the Montreal Canadiens, believe it or not, have the second wild card position. So during the last 10 games, just to give you an idea of the tenacity, in the last 10 games, the Canadiens have won 6 straight. So their last 10 games, there's 6 wins, 3 losses, and 1 tie, one overtime point. That is absolutely remarkable. They're at a point right now where they have the final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference almost locked up. Mathematically, not yet. The Canadiens have 4 games left. All they need to do is lose the next 4, because they are 8 points ahead of the Rangers, the Red Wings, the Islanders, and Columbus. So yes, they're ahead of the game right now. Jeff Gorton and Ken Hughes were saying 5 years. It's a 5-year rebuild program. We're in year number 3, and they have almost secured a playoff spot. And not only that, to make things interesting, Gary, because I know you're a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, kind of, since you're Montreal, you're kind of getting converted here. Right now, if Montreal stays in that final wild card spot, the first round of the playoffs is going to be Montreal versus the Washington Capitals. Now, here's the beauty. Montreal is going to play the Ottawa Senators this upcoming Friday. Okay. Today, they are 3 points behind the Ottawa Senators. This can come right down to the wire. If the Canadiens surpass the Ottawa Senators and flip wild card spots, guess who the Montreal Canadiens play in the first round? The Toronto Maple Leafs. Bring them on. Bring them on.
Oh, yeah. Man. Can you imagine?
Yeah, extremely exciting. I mean, the last time the Canadiens were in the playoffs is when they made a run for the Stanley Cup in the final series. They lost to Tampa, but they eliminated the Toronto Maple Leafs in 7 games. They were down 3-0, pushed back, and took the series 4-3. Now, I think also back in our episode in October, episode 4, I was really hoping the Maple Leafs would advance. Like you were saying, they've been rebuilding since 1967. Quote unquote, Gary, this is exactly what you said. You know what? It would make for excellent hockey. May the best team win. That would be a fabulous series again. And I believe the Montreal Canadiens, based on what I've seen in French media, this is exactly what they want. They want a matchup with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Neither team has
It's
had their numbers on each other this year, so it's they have one more game this year. So I think that's going to be a telltale sign of what the last few games mean to both teams. And yeah, it would be a fantastic series. And like I said, if they catch Ottawa, it's going to be a Habs Maple Leaf series. And then the inevitable joke I have to give our viewers right now is what do the Maple Leafs have in common with the Titanic? They're both great until they hit the ice. Oh, I'm sorry, I have to throw that one in there, Gary. But
ouch.
look, you know what? A remarkable achievement by the Canadians, the Toronto Maple Leafs as well. A remarkable achievement. They got bigger, they got tougher, they got meaner this year. Okay, that's what the Maple Leafs needed to do. That's what I said they needed to do at the beginning of the season. They got goaltending. The Maple Leafs this year can take it all the way if their core four show up for the playoffs where they usually disappear. So I'm hoping the best for the Maple Leafs. I'm hoping even better outcome for the Montreal Canadiens, and it's an exciting time. It really is, and it livens up the city, it livens up the province, it livens up a lot of Canada because there are a lot of Montreal Canadian fans throughout the rest of Canada. So you had asked me whether Canadians are going to make the playoffs on episode 4. I didn't think they would. You had asked me for a bold prediction in terms of who the final 4 were going to be. So far, back then I said Edmonton and Dallas in the West. They're both very, very good teams this year. They're both in the playoffs. I said the Florida Panthers in the East. I also said the New York Rangers, and the Canadians are 8 points ahead of them right now, so that's not going to happen. I said Leafs on the outside because I didn't know what they were going to do in terms of improving their team, and Vancouver. They're probably not going to make it. But the nice thing about hockey in Canada, right now, 5 of 6 Canadian teams are vying to make it to the next season, which is the playoffs. So thank you for asking me in my opinion. Thank you for asking me to look back on episode 4. And you know what? I look a lot better today than I did back then.
And you know what? There's no better rivalry in North America than the Leafs and the Habs. No better rivalry.
Absolutely.
It's the
Great
top rivalry. Doesn't
great
matter if
for
you're
sports,
talking.
great for the country.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what sport you're talking. When you get down to the Habs and Leafs, man, that's it. Like all hell breaks loose for sure. So looking forward to it. And the Habs have 4 games left between now?
4 games left. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. It's going to be really, really interesting to watch.